The city Ada had been brought to was loud and overwhelming, a far cry from her quiet village. The streets were crowded with people who moved quickly, their faces hardened by survival. Ada stared out from the barred window of the small room where she was kept, her heart heavy with despair. She hadn't seen the sun properly in weeks, and the life she had known felt like a distant dream. Her daily reality was harsh. She was forced to work long hours, her body and spirit battered by the demands of the people who controlled her. The other girls in the building rarely spoke. Their eyes were hollow, and their smiles, if they ever appeared, were fleeting and empty. Ada began to feel as though she were disappearing, piece by piece, into the darkness. But then, one day, a strange thing happened. A woman came to the building, different from the others Ada had seen before. She was dressed in fine clothes, her face painted with bright makeup, but her eyes were soft and kind. She walked past Ada but paused briefly, her gaze lingering for just a moment. "You don't belong here," the woman whispered, so softly that Ada wasn't sure if she had imagined it. Before Ada could respond, the woman moved on, disappearing through a heavy door. Ada clung to those words like a lifeline, replaying them in her mind over and over. Weeks later, another unexpected turn came. A wealthy man, sharp-dressed and authoritative, arrived at the building. He didn't look at any of the girls except Ada. His piercing gaze sent shivers down her spine. After a brief conversation with the building's overseers, he gestured for her to follow. Ada was hesitant, but the overseers backed orders, and she had no choice. The man led her to a sleek car parked outside, its polished surface glinting in the harsh sunlight. Ada climbed in, unsure of what awaited her. The man brought her to a large house on the outskirts of the city. It was lavish and cold, filled with expensive furniture that seemed to have no warmth. He treated her differently than the others had, offering her meals, letting her sleep in a proper bed, but Ada quickly realized she was still a prisoner, just in a gilded cage. One night, she overheard a conversation between the man and a visitor. "She's just another tool," the man said, his voice dismissive. "When I'm done with her, I'll send her back." The words hit Ada like a blow. She realized that her safety in this new place was temporary, that she would always be a pawn in someone else's game unless she escaped. But how? The house was heavily guarded, and she had nowhere to go. Her chance came months later. Late one night, when the house was unusually quiet, she noticed one of the back doors hadn't been locked properly. Her heart raced as she crept toward it, her bare feet making no sound on the marble floor. The outside air was cool against her skin, and for the first time in years, she felt a flicker of freedom. Ada ran. She didn't know where she was going, but she kept moving, her legs burning with each step. The city streets were empty and silent, and the shadows seemed to follow her. When dawn broke, she found herself at a small park, collapsing onto a bench in exhaustion. For weeks, Ada survived on the streets. She scavenged for food and found shelter where she could, but life was unforgiving. She eventually fell back into old patterns, returning to the streets to sell herself just to survive. The darkness that had followed her for so long seemed impossible to escape. But somewhere deep inside, a spark remained. The memory of her mother's prayers, the kind whisper of the woman in the building, and the fleeting moments of kindness she had encountered, they refused to fade entirely. Ada held onto them even as the world around her seemed determined to crush her.